I'm doing a market in May where I'll be doing mini tarot readings on the spot and stuff like that. And so I wrote, and then selling tarot readings and stuff. And I wrote a little sheet up today, and it was saying how most people have something they want to change in their lives, but they feel stuck. They don't know like how to change it. And but you're smart. If you did know how to change it, you would have done it already. So the reason is not happening is because you're somehow unconsciously, unaware of what you're doing, which is creating what you are having, and then, um, you know, finding new pathways will get you into being able to do something different. But you would have changed it if you knew how already, and so it's yeah, just
That's what actually what the lady Troy talked to said was like when he went to her, she's like, you basically have fire in the mind. Like that's where the fire in the baby mind comes from. It's like you have this mind that's just innocently going to work, but it's doing so much and it's not helping you because like you can be as smart as you want, and if there's like this little thing in the way and you're just like, no, gotta do work and blah, 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 it's just like it's just on fire. It can't. It's not gonna work.
yeah, yeah. Need some water first before you try to do stuff with the fire. You know.
It's like going to all the hot coals and like
Yeah,
eventually it cools down and there's no fire and it's like, oh, clarity.
yeah. That reminds me of the other thing I wrote down. The only other thing was um, parts learning or system learning, which speaks to people, and I think we've maybe mentioned it before, but people who or just a method of trying to make change by thinking in individual parts. So you could say, "Oh, I got to do this thing," but meanwhile, you're doing that because you're doing it from a thing of fire or whatever, like a state of fire that you have to change something individually. But it's like deal with the fire, and then your whole system's going to be different, and all the different things you could do are all going to be looking different because you've actually dealt with the orchestration of your whole self. That then your your method for changing things or approaching whatever you need to do is going to be totally different than seeing it fragmented because you're thinking fragmented already.
That's extremely similar to something I wrote a similar thing about, but a totally different topic about exactly this. And it was a chat I was having with Troy where he was talking about like there's all these almost like the ends of the branches, and like you start on the end of a branch and like I have this problem where I'm anxious about this something something, and then you work back through the process and that stage. And I was trying to tell him of like if all these branches are just showing you that you have an issue with something else and then something else and eventually it all goes back to the same root, why not just work on that root problem? Because if you're just working on the root problem, like you're all the things that are just showing you that you have a problem rooted down, like if you can get to that root, then you're solving all the problems. So you get to that thing. Is the reason I wrote that though is because of talking almost more interpretation things of like the author intent, reader intent, or things like that. But that happens in everything. And me and him having that conversation of me talking about if you develop like awareness, balance of the mind, clarity, all this stuff, then the thing that you're all the things like if you take 5 things that are all showing you that you have a problem with attachment or a problem with this and like all the way down to that root, but you're working on the root, these are all going to go away or they'll shift or something because you're working on the thing that's actually causing them. And he was like, but then you're just bypassing the problem that you have to work on the process. And it's like, no, it's not bypassing anything. You just know where it leads already. You just work on the thing that's causing it. And like we were both talking about the same thing, but he was interpreting it as bypassing the problems that, and his mind is stuck in this idea of process, which is exactly what the lady told him about his fiery mind. She's like, you don't have to do as much stuff to get like to fix your the problems that you have. And he was like, but I always think in process. I'm like something happens, like what do I do about it? And so like me and him were doing the same thing as him and that lady of like how to just you can just work on you.